Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Blake? What? Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Ron.
Ron is here. Welcome back, everybody, for more SPTV, where every day's a great day, not to be in a cult. Holy cow. If anybody wondered what David Miscavige was going to do to retaliate against the Clearwater City Council for not giving him what he wanted just less than a month ago, when David Miscavige was rejected in his bid to buy a public street in downtown Clearwater. We knew David Miscavige was going to come back with something. We knew all that tax-free money that he pays his political lobbyists. Don't kill the messenger. In the Republican Party, I mean, it's Florida, okay? So if Scientology is going to pay the political lobbyists, it's going to be the lobbyists in the Republican Party, okay? And if anyone wants to know what lobbyists are working hard for Scientology, their names are Joe Burdett and Brian Ongst Jr. Let's blame them and shame them and embarrass them and humiliate them in Clearwater, Florida, where they live, okay? If anyone wondered whether Pam Bondi's successor as Florida Attorney General was going to be as friendly to Scientology as Pam Bondi was, we have our answer. Florida's Attorney General, James Utmeyer? Is it Uthmeyer? He's 37 years old, or maybe a little bit older than that right now. Well, he's taken Scientology's side in this dispute and has basically warned the Clearwater City Council that by not voting to approve a sale of a public street to Scientology, they are in violation of Scientology's constitutional rights. This is very interesting, you guys. The Clearwater, Florida City Council is going to have to be very strong, very persistent, very dedicated, and very smart and tactical in how they move forward. Because Scientology, I guarantee you, is going to argue that no matter what the Clearwater City Council members say moving forward from today, no matter what they say and how they vote, when David Miscavige reapplies to buy the street, he is going to use their past words against them. So they have to be careful. They have to be tactical in how they proceed. Okay, let's take a look at this. What's being reported. This is from the website floridapolitics.com. Attorney General James Uthmeyer, that's just how I think it's said, guys. James Uthmeyer, siding with Scientology in land dispute, warns City of Clearwater of unconstitutional decision-making. All right, let's look at the zoomed-in version. I remind you, this is a quote, I remind you that a government entity's discrimination based on religion is unconstitutional. I'm going to read it all the way through, then I'm going to share all my thoughts on this. Okay, Attorney General James Uthmeyer is speaking out amid a battle between the City of Clearwater and the Church of Scientology over a potential land deal, and he's taking Scientology's side. In a letter to Clearwater Mayor Bruce Rector, Uthmeyer cautioned him that any decisions made based on discriminatory reasons would violate Florida law, as would mandates that a land deal be tied to alternative properties also owned by Scientology. At issue is a proposal for the City of Clearwater to sell a portion of Garden Avenue to Scientology for $1.375 million, with the intent of closing that portion of the street. Scientology owns adjacent property and wants to build an auditorium and a park. Scientology wants to shut down that area of the street because Scientology leaders, say it's not safe to have high foot traffic between the two projects. Uthmeyer took issue with comments during a city council meeting last month in which Clearwater, Florida Mayor Bruce Rector pushed back on the proposal, noting that the City of Clearwater needs the street more than the City of Clearwater needs an auditorium. And Bruce Rector made another comment that implied Bruce was opposed to Scientology acquiring more land. Quote, I think they've grown their footprint enough in downtown Clearwater, Bruce Rector said at the meeting, referencing Scientology's ownership of some 200 parcels in the downtown area. Scientology has since withdrawn its petition to buy the portion of Garden Avenue, but Uthmeyer's letter indicates that Scientology has apparently announced its intent to refile. Uthmeyer's letter specifically points to information he has learned indicating that the city of Clearwater may also seek to condition its decision to vacate the street. You have to vacate the street before you can sell the street. So, quote, that the city may also seek to condition its decision to vacate on an agreement from Scientology to develop its other properties located in downtown. In other words, the city council may approve the vacation of the plot, but only if the religious institution agrees to develop its other properties in various delineated ways. Uthmeyer notes that the office of the Attorney General, Uthmeyer notes that the office of the Attorney General, even before his tenure, has held the position that such stances violate the law. You know, that's funny. That's funny because Scientology didn't claim that this request violated the law when they thought they were going to get their way. But then when they didn't get their way, all of a sudden, they're like, what? What you asked of us was a violation of our rights, and we're going to HR about it. All right. Okay, let's see. Okay, he referenced an attorney general opinion from 1978 that finds a municipality possesses neither statutory nor constitutional authority to exact payment for or otherwise interfere with the property rights of landowners whose property abuts a public street as conditions to or in exchange for the exercise of its power to vacate streets. You know what? Let me read this again. Okay, an attorney general opinion from 1978 that finds, quote, a municipality possesses neither statutory nor constitutional authority to exact payment for or otherwise interfere with the property rights of landowners whose property abuts a public street as conditions to or in exchange for the exercise of its power to vacate streets. Wow, okay. All right. So maybe it's unconstitutional to enter into a negotiation with Scientology for what they would be willing to give Clearwater in exchange for vacating a street. Maybe the negotiation itself is beyond the statutory authority of the city of Clearwater, but they do have the authority to just vote no. All right, let's carry on. The letter further levels criticism at Clearwater Mayor Bruce Rector and the city of Clearwater over a, quote, more troubling, unquote, report that a decision on the petition may be influenced by religious animus toward the Church of Scientology. Well, now hold on. It's not religious animus. Like that would be if you had a problem with the Church of Scientology because of any of the religious beliefs of the Church of Scientology. You see, the Church of Scientology, beyond, claiming to be a religion, in fact, they're a family-destroying international multi-billion-dollar human trafficking cult. They are also a stakeholder of the community. And as a stakeholder of the community, not as a religious institution, they have purchased up massive amounts of property and left them vacant. They have also initiated boycotts against non-Scientologist-owned businesses in downtown Clearwater. That has been documented. So taking issue with Scientology's behavior as a community stakeholder is not the same thing as taking issue with the Church of Scientology as a religion. But let's be honest, the Florida Attorney General is just firing off a strongly worded letter, most likely in exchange for some political contributions, in my opinion. Okay. The letter references Bruce Rector's comment that Scientology has grown its footprint in downtown Clearwater enough. Uthmeyer also cites Rector pitting our citizens against Scientology by delineating between the two. Wow. Oh, delineating between, Scientology's interests and the citizens' interests. Now that is just an unbelievable hair-splitting exercise. Because obviously the Church of Scientology does have interests that are at odds with the interests of the non-Scientologist citizens of Clearwater. Maybe Bruce didn't say non-Scientologist citizens. Maybe he said citizens and Scientology. And again, that's splitting hairs, but I guess I understand the point. Okay. Quote from the letter. I remind you that a government entity's discrimination based on religion is unconstitutional. Adding that it is also a violation of the Florida Civil Rights Act. Quote, I understand that the city may make its approval of the vacation of the Platt, I guess Platt's the right word, at issue, I'm sorry, I understand that the city may make its approval of the vacation of the plat at issue contingent upon Scientology's disposition of other nearby parcels it owns. For the reasons stated above, I would remind you that current law does not authorize such conditions. Okay, fine. Then we'll stop talking about conditions and we'll just say disapproved. More importantly, he said, discriminatory motives could taint the council's decision-making. This is the part that I find very troubling. Because the council's decision-making refers, in my opinion, to the future vote that will inevitably occur when David Miscavige resubmits. Okay. And he goes, discriminatory motives could taint the council's decision-making. This is what concerns me. I feel that what he is basically saying is what you have already said at public meetings has already established a foundation of discrimination against Scientology. And having already made those things clear, you essentially will not be able to vote no on this without Scientology having a legal basis to argue that your vote is based on your discrimination, and that you will not be able to separate these two things. You will not be able to set your discrimination of Scientology that you've already made clear aside and then say you're voting no for some other reason. See, I feel this letter is very much a threat to the city council. And this is why I say the city council is going to need to be strong, dedicated, persistent, smart, surgical, and tactical. Because Scientology actually, I think it was in the 70s, maybe the 80s, was able to successfully sue. The city of Clearwater just settled. They didn't win in court. Scientology didn't win in court, but the city of Clearwater settled. Was able to sue the city of Clearwater earlier. After the city of Clearwater voted on an ordinance, and someone can fact check me on this. I'm not going to get the detail. My understanding is that the ordinance had something to do with the ability to pass out flyers downtown. I could be wrong on this, but it's something similar to this. And the city council voted no on this ordinance. And all of the discussions and the debates that occurred in public leading up to the vote made it clear that the reason they were voting no is because everyone knew that this ordinance was only coming up because of Scientology, and that the only one that this would be a problem for was Scientology, and that people didn't want the church that had just secretly moved into town and, taken over property and had people with guns patrolling their properties, dominating downtown Clearwater. And it was clear that even though the city council had the right to vote no, enough had been publicly said, and the council members had made their beliefs public about, or their feelings about Scientology public, and Scientology was able to bring a lawsuit on that basis, and Scientology got a bunch of money from the city of Clearwater. It was after that lawsuit that the city of Clearwater stopped showing any backbone whatsoever on the subject of Scientology. And here we are again. David Miscavige is saying, you don't have the right to not sell me that street. And the fact that you guys had the audacity to complain about any of the behavior of the Church of Scientology shows that you are hopelessly biased against us and you are violating our rights. We're in really fascinating territory here. All right, let's keep going. While Uthmeyer didn't make any specific demands or threats based on his concerns, he made clear that any actions he suggested could happen would run afoul of Florida law, signaling that the state's top law enforcement official will continue watching as Scientology's plans with the city unfold. Wow, wow, wow. See, the thing is, Scientology's been planning on building this event hall for over 20 years, well over 20 years. And it wasn't until 6 months ago that they decided to mention, we'd kind of like to buy this street. They've never mentioned it before. They've never needed the street. They've never claimed to need the street. They never expected or predicted needing the street. But now that anti-Scientology protesters, known as the Clearwater Crew, have been protesting outside Scientology Superpower building across from the Fort Harrison Hotel every Friday evening for well over a year now. By the way, you're all welcome to join us Friday, 6 p.m. every week. Scientology realized, ruh-roh, if we open this event hall and we move all our annual international events to this event hall, and if the city owns the street outside the event hall, then there will be a public easement on that street right outside the event hall. And these pesky protesters will be able to set up their cardboard Tom Cruise and cardboard David Miscavige and honk if Scientology is a cult signs right outside my beautiful, beloved event hall every single time I do an event there. And he sure is right about that. We are going to be outside that event hall every single time David Miscavige does an event there. And he said, that is unacceptable. We want to buy this street. Now, Miscavige has never admitted that the reason he wants to buy the street is to interfere with the constitutionally protected activity of anti-Scientology protesters. But now he wants to cry that the city of Clearwater is violating his constitutional rights by not selling him the street that he so desperately wants. And that's why I think this is super, super interesting. Two competing constitutional rights. The rights to free speech, assembly, the right to protest versus Scientology's right to buy a street? No, I don't think so. Scientology doesn't have the right to buy a street. They came to the city of Clearwater at the last moment wanting to buy the street. The city has the right to say no. Okay. The city has a comprehensive development plan that does require that street to be a thoroughfare, an artery from Court Street, one of the biggest arteries in all of Clearwater, right into the heart of downtown Clearwater. The city of Clearwater has absolutely no responsibility to vacate a street, sell it to Scientology so Scientology can close it down. Man, I hope the city council stays firm on their decision not to sell this street to Scientology. And it does not come as any surprise to me that they put their political capital to work and they got their lobbyists really busy crying, right? You imagine crying to the Florida Attorney General for a little tiny street in a little tiny town. There's only 120,000 citizens in Clearwater, Florida. We're not as big as St. Petersburg. We are not nearly as big as Tampa. This is really interesting. Okay, let's go through some starred comments and we will wrap this one up. Barbara Swanson, I immediately go to payoff since Florida is renowned as one of the most corrupt state governments in the U.S. Kat K, I've read some articles on this attorney general. Seems he is a yes man to anything, getting him ahead. The Gibbs family, good to see you. This is disgusting. I hope they bring a lawsuit. Then we can show they're not even a religion. There's no religious discrimination to be had. They're an organization that is bad neighbors to our city. Magnus G, I wonder how much an attorney general costs these days. Mary James, so the residents should have less rights than Scientology. Make that make sense. Martha Meringue, they did not have to decide. They backed out of the deal. Oh my God, that's actually a really good point. It's actually a really good point. The process of vacating the street requires 2 votes. The first vote, the city council voted in Scientology's favor. The second vote, Scientology felt it was going to go against them. And so they withdrew their application. So the truth is, the city of Clearwater never even voted no. However, when David Miscavige came to the city and said, we want to buy the street, the city manager was authorized by the city council to engage in negotiations for what would David Miscavige be willing to do in exchange for the city council voting yes. And those negotiations went on for 6 months. David Miscavige didn't complain once. But I guess that is also one of the major interesting parts of this is Miscavige is now basically going, by asking me what I would do for the city of Clearwater, you violated my rights. Okay. So what if David Miscavige brings the issue up again and the city of Clearwater, the city manager and the city council are like, okay, we'll just review your proposal on face value and we won't negotiate with you at all. And we won't ask you anything you'll do in return. We'll just vote no. Has the basis for the decision already been spoiled? What do you guys think? Everyone's a legal expert on the internet, of course. I want to know what you guys think. Is there any way for the city council to vote no on the next application without it resulting in a lawsuit? And the truth is, David Miscavige can bring a lawsuit for anything he wants to bring a lawsuit for. And he will, because he's really banking on being able to build this event hall. And they've said they won't build the event hall without buying the street. And I'm telling you, the reason for this is what I've already said. David Miscavige will not put himself in a position where people can protest right out front of a building where he's doing a live event. He will not do that. He has to save face, but he does have to save face with the Scientologists who he promised everyone he was going to break ground on this thing this summer. So this is one of Miscavige's top priorities right now. Brave gifted 20 channel memberships. Thank you so much, Brave. That is very generous of you. And thank you to everyone who is a member of the channel. I really appreciate it. Northern Girl, they didn't deny them based on their religion, though. I mean, you're right. Sarah Bauman, oh, God, no. So the Garden Project is now in jeopardy. Oh, yes, that's the Garden Project. Yes. Well, yeah, I mean, as long as Scientology is still trying to buy that street, the project is in jeopardy. But honestly, I would say theoretically in jeopardy, because there's much more to the Garden Project than just that street. But I don't want to speak for the project either. Ren again says there's no surprises with this one. If at first you cannot get it done, go over their heads to the bigwigs. How is this? Oh, You All Demons. There's a movie called Disturbing Behavior starring Tom Cruise's ex-wife, Katie Holmes. Clearwater acts like the town in the movie. Very weird. George Massey, this is so bogus. So can all religions buy up streets in the state of Florida? That would cripple a lot of municipalities' traffic flow. A Girl says Scientology is so desperate it stinks. You All Demon says downtown Scientology Clearwater even has police department whom they working for basically Scientology. And I love the Lord Holy Christ. I don't appreciate what the founder said about him. And I still do not fully understand why Scientology has that cross. Well, they have that cross so that they can pretend to be something similar to a Christian based religion, a Christian-like religion, and they are not. Jonas Canuck, you can see how much the protesting does. Old Frizz, they're so bloody entitled. Accusing others of religious prejudice, bigotry has always been their go-to. Magnus G, remember that Scientology is always worse than you think. And Old Frizz, but they can get permits to close streets for special events, right? They do it in LA all the time. Yes, indeed. Okay, guys, that is the latest news on this. Stay tuned for more developments and stay tuned for more today. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.